directs the human being toward the perfect stage of devotion. The paths of fruitive activities, speculative knowledge, and meditation do not lead one to the, but the Lord is actually approachable by one who follows the process of devotional service. Therefore, all Vedic literature recommends that one accept this process. In this regard, Caitanya Mahaprabhu quoted from the Lord's instruction to Uddhava in Srimad Bhagavatam 11:14-2021. Na sadayate mam yogo, na sankyam dharma Uddhava, na svadhyayas tapaschargo, yata bhaktir mamorjita. Bhaktyaham ekaya grahya, shadayatma priyasatam. Bhakti punati manishta, swapakan api sambhavat. My dear Uddhava, neither philosophical speculation, nor meditational yoga, nor penances can give me such pleasure as devotional service practiced by the living entities. I am dear only to my devotees, and I can be achieved only by devotional service. Even an extremely low-born person will become free from all contamination if he takes to my devotional service. Devotional service is the only path at which one can achieve the Supreme Person. Devotional service is the only perfection accepted by all Vedic literatures. Just as when a poor man receives some treasure, he becomes happy. When one attains to devotional service, his material pains are automatically vanquished. As one advances in devotional service, he attains love of Godhead, and as he advances in this love, he becomes free from all material bondage. One should not think, however, that the disappearance of poverty and the liberation from bondage are the goals of devotional service. Love of Krishna, love of God, is itself the goal, and it consists in relishing the reciprocation of loving service with the Lord. In all Vedic literatures, we find that the attainment of this loving relationship between the living entity and the Supreme Lord is the goal of devotional service. Our actual function is devotional service, and our ultimate goal is love of Godhead. Therefore, in all Vedic literatures, Krishna is the ultimate center, and through knowledge of Krishna, all problems of life are solved. Caitanya Mahaprabhu then quoted a verse from the Padma Purana. There are many different Puranas with instructions for worshipping different types of demigods, but such instructions only bewilder people into thinking that the demigods are supreme. Yet if one carefully studies the Puranas, he will find that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the only object of worship. For example, in the Markandeya Purana, there is mention of Devi worship, or worship of the goddess Durga or Kali. But in this same Purana, it is also stated that all the demigods, even Durga, are but different energies of Vishnu. Thus, the study of the Puranas reveals Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to be the only object of worship. The conclusion is that, directly or indirectly, all types of worship are more or less directed to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The Bhagavad Gita 9:23 confirms that one who worships the demigods is in fact worshipping only Krishna, because the demigods are but different parts of the body of Vishnu or Krishna, but that such worship is irregular. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:21, 42-43 confirms this irregularity by answering the question, what is the purpose of the different types of worship described in the Vedic literature? In the Vedic literature, there are various divisions. One is called the Karma Kanda, which describes purely ritualistic activities, and another is the Jnana Kanda, which describes speculation on the supreme absolute truth. What then is the purpose of the ritualistic sections of the Vedic literature? And what is the purpose of the Upasana Kanda, which contains different mantras or hymns for worshipping various demigods? And what is the purpose of philosophical speculation on the subject of the absolute truth? Srimad Bhagavatam replies that in actuality, all of these methods described in the Vedic literature indicate the worship of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. In other words, they are all indirect ways of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sacrifices contained in the ritualistic portions of this literature are meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Indeed, because yajna sacrifice is especially meant for satisfying Vishnu, Another name for Vishnu is Yogeshvar, or the Lord of Sacrifices.
Sorry. Yeah. Since neophytes are not on the transcendental level, the Vedic literatures advise them to worship different types of demigods according to their situation in the different modes of material nature. The idea is that gradually such neophytes may rise to the transcendental plane and engage in the service of Vishnu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, the Puranas advise the neophytes attached to eating flesh to eat it only after offering it to the goddess Kali. The philosophical sections of the Vedic hymns are intended to enable one to distinguish the Supreme Lord from Maya. After one understands the position of Maya, one can approach the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. That is the actual purpose of philosophical speculation, and Krishna confirms this in the Bhagavad Gita 7:19. After speculating for many, many births, the philosophical speculators and empiric philosophers ultimately surrender unto me, Vasudeva, and accept that I am everything. It can thus be seen that all Vedic rituals and different types of worship and philosophical speculation ultimately aim at Krishna. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu then told Sanatana Goswami about Krishna's multi-forms and his unlimited opulence. He also described the nature of the spiritual manifestation, the material manifestation, and the manifestation of the living entity. In addition, he informed Sanatana Goswami that the planets in the spiritual sky, known as Vaikunthas, and the universes of the material sky are different types of manifestations, for they are created by different energies, namely the spiritual energy and the material energy, respectively. As far as Krishna himself is concerned, he is directly situated in his spiritual energy, or specifically in his internal potency. To help us understand the difference between the spiritual energy and the material energy, the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam gives a clear analysis of the two. Sridhar Swami also gives a clear analytical study in his commentary on the first verse of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Accepting Sridhar Swami as an authorized commentator on Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya Mahaprabhu quoted his commentary as follows. The 10th canto of the Bhagavatam describes the life and activities of Krishna because he is the shelter of all manifestations. Knowing Krishna to be the shelter of everything, I worship him and offer him my obeisances. In this world, there are two kinds of principles operating. One principle is the origin or shelter of everything, and all other principles are derived from this original principle. The supreme truth is the Ashraya, the shelter of all manifestations. All other principles which remain under the control of the Ashraya Tattva, or the absolute truth, are called Ashrita, or subordinate corollaries and reactions. The purpose of the material manifestation is to give the conditioned souls a chance to become liberated and return to the Ashraya Tattva, or the absolute truth. There's everything in the cosmic manifestation which is manifested by Krishna's Vishnu expansions is dependent on the Ashraya Tattva. The various demigods and manifestations of energy, the living entities, and all the material elements are dependent on Krishna, for Krishna is the supreme truth. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam indicates that everything is sheltered by Krishna directly and indirectly. Consequently, perfect knowledge can only be had by an analytical study of Krishna as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone else like to read? Hello? Hello?
That's funny.
Well, I'll read for a little bit then. I won't do so much, but I'll do a little bit. Lord Chaitanya then asked Sanatana Goswami to listen attentively as he described the different features of Krishna. First, the Lord informed him that Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, is the absolute supreme truth, the cause of all causes and the origin of all emanations and incarnations. Yet in Braja or Goloka Vrindavan, he is just like a boy. His form is eternal, full of bliss, and full of knowledge absolute. He is both the shelter of everything and the proprietor as well. In this connection, Lord Chaitanya gave evidence from the Brahma Samhita. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sakshidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, with a body full of knowledge, eternality and bliss. He has no origin. He is the original person known as Govinda, and is the cause of all causes. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave evidence that Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, full of all six opulences. His abode, known as Golok Vrindavan, is the highest planet in the spiritual sky. In addition, Lord Chaitanya quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Oh, okay. Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsha Krishna tu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vaikulam Lokam Mirdayanti Yuge Yuge. All the incarnations described previously are either direct expansions of Krishna or indirect expansions of the expansions of Krishna. But Krishna is the original personality of Godhead. He appears on earth in this universe or in any other universe when there are disturbances created by the demons who are always trying to disrupt the administrations of the demigods. There are three different processes by which Krishna can be understood: the empirical process of philosophical speculation, the process of meditation according to the mystic yoga system, and the process of Krishna consciousness or devotional service. By philosophical speculation, the impersonal Brahman feature of Krishna is understood by meditation or mystic yoga. The super soul, the all-pervading expansion of Krishna, is understood, and by devotional service, in full Krishna consciousness, the original personality of Godhead Krishna is realized. In this connection, Lord Chaitanya quoted a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11. Vadati tatva vidas tatvam yagnam advayam brahmete paramatmete Bhagavan iti sabdyate. Those who are knowers of the absolute truth describe the absolute truth in the three features: the impersonal Brahman, the localized all-pervading supersoul, and the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, Brahman, the impersonal manifestation, Paramatma, the localized manifestation, and Bhagavan, the supreme personality of Godhead, are one and the same. But according to the process adopted, he is realized as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. I'll let someone else take over.
Okay, I'll read.
Okay.
By realizing the impersonal Brahman, one realizes the effulgence emanating from the transcendental body of Krishna. This effulgence is compared to the sunshine. There is the sun god, the sun itself, and the sunshine, which is the effulgence of that original sun god. Similarly, the spiritual effulgence, Brahma Yokti, the impersonal Brahman, is nothing but the personal effulgence of Krishna. To support this analysis, Lord Chaitanya quoted an important verse from the Brahma Samhita 5.40, in which Lord Brahma says, Yasya Brahma Prahavato Yagat Anta Koti Kotis Asasa Vasude Hati Vibhuti Binam Tat Brahma Nishkalam and Anantam Asesa Bhutam Govindam Adi Purusham Tat Aham Vyami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, whose personal effulgence is the unlimited Brahmayoti. In that Brahmayoti, there are innumerable universes, each filled with innumerable planets. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu further explained that the Brahmatma, the all pervading feature situated in everyone's body, is but a partial manifestation or expansion of Krishna. It is for this reason that Krishna is sometimes called Paramatma, the Supreme Self, the soul of all souls. In this regard, Lord Chaitanya quoted another verse is from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.55 concerning the talks between Maharaja Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami while hearing the transcendental pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavana. Maharaja Parikshit inquired from his spiritual master Shukadeva Goswami as to why the inhabitants of Vrindavana were so much attached to Krishna. This question Shukadeva Goswami answered, Krishnam enam avikitvam atmanam akilat manam yagat diktya so prayata pra dihiva tam hi maya. Krishna should be known as soul of his all souls, for he is the soul of all individual souls and the soul of the localized Paramatma as well. At Vrindavana, he acted just like a human being to attract people to him and show that he is not formless. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.55 The Supreme Lord is as much as individual as other living beings, but he is different in that he is the Supreme and all other living beings are subordinate to him. All other living beings can enjoy spiritual bliss, eternal life, and full knowledge in his association. Can someone continue?
Okay, I can read. Next, Lord Chaitanya quoted a verse from the Bhagavad Gita 10:42, in which Krishna, while telling Arjuna of his different opulences, indicates that he himself enters this universe by one of his plenary portions, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and also enters into each universe as Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and then expands himself as a supersoul in everyone's heart. Lord Chaitanya then said that if anyone wants to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth in perfection, he must take to the process of devotional service in full Krishna consciousness. Then it will be possible for him to understand the last word of the Absolute Truth. Chapter 6. His forms are one and the same. By devotional service, one can understand that Krishna first of all manifests himself as Swayam Rupa, his personal form, then as Tad Ekatma Rupa, and then as Avesha Rupa. It is in these three features that he manifests himself in his transcendental form. The feature of Swayam Rupa is the form by which Krishna can be understood by one who may not understand his other features. In other words, the form by which Krishna is directly understood is called Swayam Rupa, or his personal form. The Tade Katma Rupa is that form which most resembles the Swayam Rupa, but there are some differences in the bodily features. The Tade Katma Rupa is divided into two manifestations, the personal expansion, Swamsha, and the pastime expansion, Vilas. As far as the Avesha Rupa is concerned, when Krishna empowers some suitable living entity to represent him, that living entity is called Avesha Rupa or Shaktavesha avatar. The personal form of Krishna can be divided into two, Swayam Rupa and Swayam Prakash. As far as his Swayam Rupa or pastime form is concerned, it is in that form that he remains always in Vrindavan with the inhabitants of Vrindavan. This personal form, Swayam Rupa, can be further divided into the Prabhav and Vaibhava forms. For example, Krishna expanded himself in multiple forms during the Rasa dance in order to dance with each and every gopi who took part in that dance. Similarly, he expanded himself into 16,108 forms in Dwarka when he married 16,108 wives. There are some instances of great mystics expanding their bodily forms by the yoga process, but Krishna did not expand himself in that way. In Vedic history, Subari Rishi expanded himself into 8 forms by the yoga process, but those expansions were simply reflections, for Subari remained one. But when Krishna manifested himself in different forms, each and every one of them was a separate individual. When Narada Muni visited Krishna at his different places in Dwarka, he was astonished at this, and yet Narada is never astonished to see the expansions of a yogi's body, since he knows the trick himself. Srimad Bhagavatam describes Narada Muni's astonishment at seeing Krishna's expansions in Dwarka. Narada wondered how the Lord was present with his queens in each and every one of his 16,108 palaces. With each queen, Krishna himself was in a different form, acting in different ways. In one form, he was talking with his wife. In another form, he was petting his children. And in another form, he was performing some household duties. These different activities are conducted by the Lord when he is in his emotional forms, which are known as Vaibhava Prakash expansions. Similarly, there are other unlimited expansions of Krishna's forms, but even when they are divided or expanded without limit, they are still one and the same. There is no difference between one form and another. That is the absolute nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Someone else like to read?
Hare Krishna. I'll read Sanatan Govindas here. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10.39.44 to 57, it is stated that when Akrura was accompanying Krishna and Balram from Gokula to Mathura, he entered the waters of the Yamuna river and could see all the planets of the spiritual sky. He also saw the Lord in his Vishnu form, as well as Narada and the 4 Kumaras who were worshipping him. As stated in Bhagavata Purana, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.40.7, Anyecha Samskritatmano Vidhina Bihitena Te Yajanti Twan Mayastvam Vai Bahumurti Ekamurtikam. The Supreme Lord's many worshippers, the Vaishnavas or Aryans, are purified by the various processes of worship they perform according to their convictions and spiritual understanding. Each process of worship involves understanding different forms of the Lord, as mentioned in the scriptures. But the ultimate idea is to worship the Supreme Lord himself. In his Vaibhava Prakash feature, the Lord manifests himself as Balram. The Balram feature is as good as Krishna himself, the only difference being that Krishna's bodily hue is blackish and Balram's is whitish. The Vaibhava Prakash form was also displayed when Krishna appeared before his mother Devaki in the 4-handed form of Narayana, just when he entered the world. Then, at the request of his parents, he transformed himself into a 2-handed form. Thus, he sometimes manifests 4 hands and sometimes 2. The 2-handed form is Vaibhava Prakash and the 4-handed form is Prabhava Prakash. In his personal form, Krishna is just like a cowherd boy, and he thinks of himself in that way. But when he is in the Vasudeva form, he thinks of himself as a son of a Kshatriya and feels like a Kshatriya, a princely administrator. In his two-handed form, as a cowherd son of Nanda Maharaj, Krishna fully exhibits his opulence, beauty, wealth, attractiveness, and pastimes. Indeed, in some of Vaishnava literature, it is found that sometimes, in his form as Vasudeva, he becomes attracted to his form of Govinda in Vrindavana. Thus, as Vasudeva, he sometimes desires to enjoy as Govinda does, although the Govinda form and the Vasudeva form are ultimately one and the same. In this regard, there is a passage in the Lalita Madhava 4.19 in which Krishna addresses Uddhava as follows. My dear friend, the form of this cowherd boy, Govinda, attracts me. Indeed, I wish to be like the damsels of Raja, who are also attracted by this form of Govinda. Similarly, later in the Lalita Madhava 8.34, Krishna says, Oh, how wonderful it is! Who is this person? After seeing him, I am so much attracted that I now desire to embrace him just like Radhika. These are also forms of Krishna that are a little different from his original form, and these are called Tad Ekatma Rupa forms. These may be further divided into the Vilasa and Swamsha forms, which in turn have many different features and can be divided into Prabhava and Vaibhava forms. As far as the Vilasa forms are concerned, there are innumerable Prabhava Vilasas, headed by Krishna's expansions as Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Sometimes the Lord thinks of himself as a cowherd boy, and sometimes he thinks of himself as Vasudeva's son, a Kshatriya prince. And this thinking of Krishna is called his pastimes. Actually, he is the same form in his Vaibhava Prakash and Prabhava Vilas, but he appears differently as Krishna and Balram. His expansions as Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are the original Chaturvyuha or four-armed forms. Maybe someone else can continue.
Hare Krishna. There are innumerable 400 manifestations in different planets and different places. For instance, they are manifested in Dwaraka and Mathura eternally. From the four original 400 forms are manifested in 24 principal 400 four-armed forms, which are called Vaibhava Vilasa. They are named differently according to the placement of the conch, club, lotus, and disc in their hands. The same four principal manifestations of Krishna are found on each planet in the spiritual sky, known as Narayana Loka or Vaikuntha Loka. In Vaikuntha Loka, Krishna is manifested in four-handed form of Narayana. For each Narayana are manifested in the form of Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha. Thus Narayan is the center and the four forms of Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha surrounded the Narayan form. Each of these four forms again expanded into three, and these all have different names beginning with Keshava. These forms are 12 in all, and again they are known by different names according to the placement of the symbols in their hands. As far as Vasudeva form is concerned, the three expansions manifested from him are Kesava, Narayana, Madhava. The three forms expanded from Shankarshana are known as Govinda, Vishnu, and Sri Madhusudana. It should be noted that this Govinda is not the same Govinda manifested in Vrindavana as a son of Nanda Maharaj. Similarly, for Pradyumna expand the three forms known as Trivikrama, Vamana, Sridhara, and the three forms expanded from the Aniruddha are known as Rishikesha, Padmanabha, Damodara. Chapter 7, Unlimited Forms of Godhead. According to the Vaishnava Almanac, the 12 months of the year are named according to the 12 Vaikuntha forms of Lord Krishna, and these forms are known as the predominating deities from the 12 months. This calendar begins with the month of Margasirisha, which is equivalent to the late November and early December. The Vaishnava called this month Keshava. December, January